those are some aspects of Western astrology. Some of the good and the bad. The good is that because of having less techniques, it's less complicated. It's a little bit simpler. It's a little bit easier to understand. And things like the signs, the quality of signs, are just very clearly understood. But the downside is that they don't have as many techniques available to them. So they kind of try to use just a few things to answer lots of questions when they really need more tools in their toolkit. Does that make sense? So that's really, in my experience, my critique of what Westerners, or what the Western astrology tradition has and doesn't have. But you can still get amazing results from a Western astrologer. My first reading was from a Western astrologer, and it was amazing. Still might have been better than a lot of Vedic readings. Let's talk now more about Vedic astrology. So, Vedic astrology has almost an overdose of techniques, like I was saying, and ideas and traditions and all the stuff to follow. But people tend to get lost in all of that and not really end up doing any of their own research and figuring things out on their own. And when they do, that's when they become good astrologers. Those are the ones who break through and make it. But it's hard to do that. It's really complicating. Now, what you probably already heard is that Western astrology is more good for psychological stuff, psychological personality portraits, giving you a impressionistic painting of yourself and your psychology and your tendencies and knowing about yourself. And while that's true, well, let me finish my point. So before I go into why that bothers me, but it does bother me. Okay, so that's what they say about Western. Then what they say about Vedic is that it's more for predictions. It's more like really good at predicting events. And then they seem to imply that neither of the schools can do the other thing. And I just want to say, like, just ignore that. Just ignore that idea completely. It's kind of like a fiction. Western astrologers are amazing, are good at doing psychological stuff, yes. But so are Vedic astrologers. I've gotten much, much better results from Vedic astrology psychology. And what I'm particularly referring to are the Lajitati Avashtas of Parashara. And no one even knew about this stuff before Ernst Wilhelm really decoded this and broke it down. So this is new, and so that's why 10 or 15 years ago, everyone was saying, or even 10 years ago, or even still now, everyone is saying Vedic astrology doesn't have much psychology to offer. It just does predictions. That's BS. That's just erroneous. At least since Ernst has rediscovered this stuff. And if you don't know this stuff, you can learn from him. You can learn from me. You can get tutoring done with me. You can get a reading done. You can get a reading from any of his other students, any of the many, many people who are doing this stuff and are booked up because of how good the results are. So don't for a second think that Vedic astrology doesn't have a great deal of psychological insights to offer. It does, and has profoundly more than what I have found with Western. Because Western doesn't have a structure, whereas Vedic astrology and the Avashtas give you a structure to every planet and every sign and every conjunction, every aspect, and how that affects your psychology. So really, Vedic has more of that. But then, okay, they say Vedic is just about prediction. Yeah, that's true. Vedic is very, very good at prediction. But does that mean that Westerners can't? No, 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 no. Westerners have done some of those amazing predictions. Using just Tajika principles or Western horary astrology principles, I've predicted unbelievable things with horary astrology. Unbelievable, objective, undeniable things. You know what I mean? So, like, you will live in a blue house, or like this person works real estate, or well, I don't know. I don't need to go into examples of that, but because you can watch other videos of mine. And the basic point is, though, that people in the West there are just these ideas that have been brought up, and these are limiting people. So these are keeping people from going to a Western astrologer and thinking they could predict something, or these are keeping people from going to a Vedic astrologer like me and being able to offer them a lot of psychological insight. That's really what I'm very into. So that's why I get annoyed with this. Is like, I would like people to know a little bit more about this stuff, and in time we will. But this is all new developments. Astrology itself is going through a rebirth right now, a renaissance, because of the advent of computers and technology and software. Actually, one of the first uses of computers was for astrological charting. One of the first times a computer was ever used in modern times, at least. And then also, one of the first websites that existed on the internet was an astrology selling website, a software selling website. Forgive me. With computers and software, we can just finally start to test these things out and know if a technique works or not. Like, like what has been already done by people like Michel Gauquelin. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. The guy who discovered the Mars effect, the statistical significance of eminent athletes having Mars in the 1st or the 10th cusp when they're born. He did that before computers, but people have doubted him and gone and re-looked at it and found the results to be even more statistically significant. There's all kinds of ways we can kind of like plot things out and figure things out more rapidly with computers now. So that's sort of what this renaissance is about. Computers are making astrology a lot easier. We used to have to do like a day's worth of math just to get your chart and all the data that we can get now in a few seconds. So these are some of the differences between Western and Vedic astrology. They're both really, really good. Do whichever one you like, whichever one you're drawn to. Be drawn to the astrologer that you're drawn to, because you probably have a reason to go to that one. And don't write off either of them. They both have a lot to offer. And in general, I think what does it even matter what the methods are or the techniques? Just if you get the good results you need, that's what matters. And so both Western astrologers, Vedic astrologers, tarot readers, palm readers, all kinds of people can give you good results, and you should be open to that and not fastidiously only think you can get good results from one particular tradition. Like, Krishnamurti astrology, this is the only thing that's good. Everything else is bad. No. Don't get that. Don't let that idea get in your head. Okay. Thanks, you guys. Hope this helps. If you have any other questions or ideas or things you want to ask or comparisons that I maybe didn't address, let me know, and I'll try to address them if I have an opinion. Okay. Thanks, y'all.